Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark. And in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Christopher Ray Patton. If you know the 6M podcast, kids, you know we've covered a lot of Beatles stuff here. Let me rephrase that. We've covered a lot of Beatles stuff here. I'm a Beatles guy, have been for a heck of a long time. And oftentimes the guys I record with and gals I record with, depending on who they are Beatles fans as well. Phil Lindsay, shout out Phil. Big George, he's a big George guy, so we've covered a lot of Beatles albums here, and I've done them with a couple other folks as well. Again, if I haven't stressed it enough, I'm a big Beatles guy. But today we're covering the Rolling Stones. I know what you're thinking. Tom, what happened? Did you take the red pill? What happened? Yeah, well, guess what? Maybe I did. Because while I'm not a massive Stones fan, I'm being straight here, kids. I'm a huge fan of Exile on Main Street. This album connects to me. I don't know why. I still can't tell you why, but there's something about it. Maybe I'll uncover it here today. But fair warning, everybody, we're only doing side one today because there's a bunch of stuff to talk about. There's 18 songs. So in this episode, you can expect 9 songs. So if you're ready, buckle in. Let's get to it. Exile on Main Street is the 10th British and 12th American studio album by the Rolling Stones, released on May 12, 1972 through Rolling Stones Records. A sprawling double LP blending rock, blues, soul, country, and gospel, it captures the band at their most unfiltered and experimental. Recorded primarily in the humid basement of Keith Richards' rented villa in southern France during their tax exile, the album's raw sound reflects both the chaos of its creation and the deep roots of American music that inspired it. Despite mixed reviews upon release, Exile on Main Street has since been hailed as one of the greatest albums in rock history. Released May 12, 1972, as we said. The producer here is Jimmy Miller, along with the Stones. This was recorded between 1969 and 1972. And as we said, recorded in France. And that is your lowdown on Exile on Main Street. So, Chris, I know that you have become a Beatles guy over the past several years, I assume. We've talked about off mic and somewhere on another show, I think, too. But you've always kind of been a Stones guy, I assume. Where does this album rank for you? I don't know that it's your favorite, but if you had to list your top 5, or is it even in your top 5?
I mean, I think this is a lot of Rolling Stone fans' number 1 album, right? So if it's not number 1, it's probably number 2. The album's kind of unhinged. There's a lot of songs on this album that are very dipped into Southern gospel, rock, blues, kind of swampy sound. Which is interesting because like Graham Parsons was around a lot for that. And Graham Parsons is one of my favorite songwriters. He's from Waycross, Georgia. For those who haven't listened to Graham Parsons, go check him out. He's an incredible songwriter and died shortly after this, not very long after that. There's actually a movie called Grand Theft Parsons that goes into his roadie stealing his body and taking it out to the desert to burn it, which was a request of Graham Parsons to be burnt in Joshua Tree. So that in itself, and his relationship with Keith Richards is very, very interesting. And you can kind of hear some of his touches on this album. And as we go through it, we'll probably talk more about it. But this is probably my favorite Stones album. It's a really, really good one. It's also kind of unhinged in the way that they recorded it. And it doesn't really sound like... I mean, it sounds like the Stones, but it doesn't sound like the majority of the rest of their album. The albums that came before this, at least. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the choice of... As the Rolling Stone magazine wrote it, they got too rich for their own good, like you mentioned with the taxes, right? So they move, they record all this in a mobile studio with just crap ran into the basement of this place. So it's got its own unique sound that they never really recaptured on anything else. And I think that's kind of why it stands out to a lot of people. And then as far as like why you maybe love it, I think, you're from the South. I think that's Graham Parsons's influences trickling down to you, something about childhood and all of that stuff. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, one of the things I love about recording with you, and I love recording. I mean, guys, in case you don't know, we have some extremely talented folks that we work with here at Boink Studios. I'm telling you right now. And Chris, you're one of them for sure. But one of the reasons I love talking music with you, especially, you're a musician and you bring something different that maybe someone who isn't a musician possibly could not put into words. So, from a musician's standpoint, if you're taking this album, maybe by itself or compared to another Stones album, is it the edginess and it, like I'll use the word raw and disjointed as it's been called before this album? Is that what you're hearing? Or like, what are you hearing from a production standpoint? If you can actually sum that up.
Well, I mean, it's weird because they didn't really get in there and record together. Like you would have Keith
Mm,
Richards and Graham Parsons and horn players, they'd be recording at like 3 a.m. And then like Mick would show up and do vocals. Like it wasn't recorded kind of like a traditional Stones album.
right.
There's guest appearances like what as Anita Pallenberg's on this album. Um, but it's also a pretty drug fueled album. We kind of talked about this before we jumped on. Uh, between Keith and Graham here in their various states of heroin addiction. I think this is the album at one point the Stones actually owed money to a drug dealer and they just came in and stole a lot of gear to kind of pay for it.
Jeez.
So there's some chaos around this album and it bleeds into it. And sometimes chaos, with chaos comes great creativity. And this, I mean, that might be why. You got like think about running this. This isn't like Abbey Road, right? As far as
Right.
the
Yeah.
studio
Yeah.
goes, they're in a cramped basement filled with like old gear and just some dodgy wiring ran from a truck outside. You can imagine, the whiskey bottles laying all around, the smell of cigarette sweat and probably something stronger. Um, it's
Right.
just
Right.
fun to think about like what it would have been like to be a fly on the wall with them recording this album because it's so unique in the way it was recorded. It's kind of like Led Zeppelin when they recorded in their the famous mansion, like when the levee breaks and stuff like that. It was kind of a
Mm.
similar setup, and both of those have their own. As far as those bands go, whether it's Stones or Led Zeppelin, those albums have very unique sounds that the band doesn't really sound like in other places.
Good point. Yeah. And the Beatles thing, which I'm probably going to mention a lot because it's kind of the 1-2 punch. It's kind of like Run DMC and Public Enemy to some degree. And those guys would agree with that too, for sure. The Beatles and Stones comparison. But like when it comes to the Beatles and their sound and their creativity, because you mentioned the heroin bit, like we know that famously, the Beatles would do LSD and John would write and Paul would write, they'd write together and whatnot. But like, dude, when you talk about heroin, now you're talking about the drug that, hey, I'll kill everybody in this room to get my next fix. Like, it's not defending LSD, everybody. I'm not saying that, Chris. It's got to be a different environment to some degree. Like, it's not so much I'm opening my mind, it's that I got to get it fixed. You know what I mean? I can't speak to this because I've never done any of that stuff, but there's got to be, I imagine there's a difference on some level, isn't there? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the person who recorded this album said it was the most bizarre recording he had ever done in his life.
Mm,
And there's also part of this where a lot of the horn players and backup singers, they finished that stuff in LA. So the album you hear is not even the finished, the album that they recorded fully is not even the finished version of the album. It goes back to LA to have other musicians play on it as well.
mm.
It's just kind of, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a weird time for the Stones. Like you said, they've already done, this is album number 12 for the American
Mhm,
release, right?
mhm, yeah.
So when you think about how much content that band put out in a short amount of time, this album does kind of stand out on its own.
I love it. I love it. And again, I can't say I'm a major fan of I appreciate the Stones. That's how I'll phrase that. And that sounds like a backhanded compliment. I appreciate their work, but I love this album. Again, there's just something about it. Kids, we're going to dive into this. As we said at the opening, we're going to do the album with 18 tracks. There's different versions of this. There's one with 30 tracks, and I think one with in between, and maybe one with more. So we're doing the 18. This is, you know, uh, again, the one released in 72, the original. This is tracks 1 through 18 was a double album, and tracks 1 through 9 today. We're starting off, Chris, with Rocks Off, which at 4 minutes, 32 seconds and Mick and Keith are the songwriters listed on this. And of course, we've got all the Stones on the actual song. I mean, there's a lot of songs on this album, Chris, that are, so memorable. And if you're of a certain age, you probably heard them a lot of your life, and like they're recognizable for you. Like Rocks Off has got to be one of the most recognizable songs on this album, right? What do you think about the opening track here? And did they kick off the album with the right track?
Yeah, this is one that I don't have an argument on this being the right track. A lot of times when we go through these, they're like, I might have moved this track here or there. Rocks Off, I think, is a perfect opener for this album. It's messy, it's loud, it kind of captures the energy of them recording it in a basement. I like almost like a garage band type feel. You get this incredible horn section that's fighting the guitars the entire time, and then you get mixed voice just suddenly sounding like it's underwater. And that was an intentional choice. I think it's a perfect opener, man. It's chaotic. It's very confident in what it is, and it kind of sets the tone for what this album is going to be.
Yeah, the lyrics to the song, as Chris alluded to, difficult to hear since the vocals were mixed very low. Subjective desiccation is what they describe as from intravenous drug injection. Boy, I'll say. And yeah, by the way, I love the way you said horns are fighting the guitars. I think it's happening in the best possible way, but I don't think I would have described it as fighting. But now that you said that, it completely makes sense. Like they're both fighting for, hey, it's my turn to play. You guys need to tone it down a little bit. Let me get in here. That's what it kind of feels like to some degree, man.
Yeah, I mean that goes to the chaotic feel of the song. Like I was saying, it's they're stepping on each other in a way that's done intentionally. It's not like if you go see a jam band and they just continue to go way too long or anything. It's just fighting was the best way I could put it into words as far as what it sounds like's happening. But it's great. They're bouncing off each other, and Keith's guitar sounds incredible here as it always does.
It's not my favorite song on the album, but I love this song. I'm with you. I think it's a great way to start it up. Do you like that? Yeah. Well, moving on. But yeah, this one, kids, is absolutely about intravenous drug use. The F word is mentioned in this song, which is one of the first times that this has happened in popular music anyway. Plug in, flush out, and fire the effing feed. And yep, that's a reference to taking those drugs, kids. Just say no. So yeah.
It's hard to say no with people like Graham Parsons hanging around. I am not condoning the use of heroin.
Nor should you.
And also stay away from the fent, kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Heck of a way to kick this off. And it kind of sets the tone, man. The garage band comment is great. I love songs that sound as though it's just all the guys jamming together, like Your Blues on the White Album. Famously, the Beatles crammed into a bathroom in Abbey Road Studios because they wanted that sound, which is why the track has that echo to it, and why because they're all cramped in this bathroom recording Your Blues. I'm like, it's one of the best stories ever. I love stuff like that, man. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, again, from a musician standpoint, because I'm going to frame it to you that way again, doesn't it just mean more when you're all in the same room? I mean, I get you have to do separate tracks, but like, there's no one to vibe off the energy with if you're split up, right? Doesn't that make a difference?
Yeah, I mean it does. It definitely makes a difference. There's some bands that just record live. They'll go back in and track over whatever they record. Pearl Jam famously used to do that, where they would record one take live as a band, like as if they were rehearsing. And then they would go in and clean up their tracks. And it kind of goes, it was very expensive to do that at this time. So you get a lot more of that then than you do now, where you'll have a band track live. And the reason being is when you're talking about those old tape, like reel to reel recordings, somebody's got to go in and splice all of those guitar tracks out and put in new guitar tracks. And that's a process where you're literally cutting this tape with a razor blade and taping it back in places.
Yes.
To overlap. So that's a lost process. If you think about recording now, there's still some bands that do it, but it is very expensive in a world with like Pro Tools and stuff. And I'm not going to get out here and just crap on modern rock or anything like that. But like the stuff you're talking about, bands were doing unique things to get different sounds because they didn't have like the effects that they helped create by doing this weird stuff is just,
Mhm.
it's just something that you can grab in Pro Tools at this point. Uh, but yeah, like the Beatles famously running their guitars directly into the mixing board on like Revolver and things like that. That's bands trying to find things that didn't exist at that time. Like now there's,
Mm.
tons and tons of guitar effects pedals and effects that you can put on a track once it's in Pro Tools or whatever you're using. You could even do it in like a Reaper or Audacity or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that is just from like, man, it'd be really cool if we could get underwater sound. How do we, how do we
Right,
accomplish
yeah.
that? It's a lot of
Yeah.
experimentation and stuff. And it's during this time period, there's a lot of people that the drugs may have pushed that along of doing weird, weird things.
I've got a great idea, lads. They just, yeah. Wow.
But that's that's always special. And when you think about bands like the Beatles or the Stones or like Led Zeppelin, like I was saying, recording when the levee breaks, hey, like draping the mics over these big banisters and stuff to get this very unique sound.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't get as much of that anymore, man. You get like there's still creative things that come out, and like bands like Radiohead, for instance, they do weird things, but that's not that's not going to be the majority of modern rock anymore. A lot of I think some of it's became too easy.
Oh my God, it's become so easy. Dude, it's somewhat. If you, right now, if you say Tom, how's your singing voice, I would tell you it's not great. Do I know it's not great? I don't know that it's not great. When I just sing, by myself, I don't think I sound bad. But brother, if you heard me, you might go, "Yeah, Dylan can do better." You might not want to sing. So like, but dude, all you need are the right tools, and I sound amazing, and I would sound great. You're right. It is so much easier. Instrumentation, vocals, arrangement, everything, dude.
Yeah, I would say as a man who's spent a lot of time playing music in various places over the years, anyone out there younger listening to this, if you're a songwriter, go to open mics in very crappy places.
Yeah, yes,
I
for
think
sure.
that's the way to get you really feel kind of what I think these bands are feeling is it just being you and your guitar on stage, or you and your piano on stage, or whatever it might be. And taking those kind of performances where no one cares you're there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can really focus on having that raw energy, and that'll carry over to anything else you do as far as starting a band or whatever, because you've done the worst of it.
It's like being a stand-up comic, right? Like you go bomb. That's what you do. You go bomb first. You bomb everywhere as you possibly can. And the expectation is, the hope is that eventually you start learning how to do it and you get better and you get better and you get better. Like to your point, the kid that hits the stage tonight in some town in this country who's doing it for the first time, 6 months from now, you would hope sounds better than what he does tonight because he's getting better and learning as he goes.
It's also the thing, like professional wrestling, you're learning what a crowd reaction is going to be. Depending on where you
Mm,
play, the reaction is going to be different every time.
sure.
So, and what crowd is there? Like, especially at bars, like you're going to get, you might play at a bar where it's like mostly a 40 to 50-year-old crowd. You got to, even if you're playing your songs that you wrote, you need to throw some things in there just to keep them interested. Right.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
this is how I end up with so many weird covers. And if people that follow me on Facebook or whatever, I'm sure they've seen a lot of those. It was from that necessity of like, okay, well, there's a bachelorette party here. I bet if I played a Taylor Swift song, that'll get the crowd more interested into whatever else I'm doing. Right. So I think, that's the thing that the Stones do here is kind of what we're talking about. It's not being comfortable. They put themselves in an uncomfortable position to begin with, right? Like we're recording in this basement. We're no longer in England because we just can't afford to live there.
Right.
Everything about this album is chaotic and uncomfortable. And I think that a lot of times that's how some of the best things get made.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, yeah. And like Beatles had the tax issues too, kids. Just go listen to the song Tax Man. I mean, George wrote it for a reason,
Yeah,
declare
I
the
mean,
pennies on your eyes. So.
one of England's greatest exports during this time would be like, the Beatles, the Stones, and Led Zeppelin, right? And none of
Yeah.
them end up living in England by
Right.
the end of their recording, or at the peak of their the peak of their height.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's just the first song into the album, kids. See how much we got to talk about here? I did warn you. So track number 2 is Rip This Joint. And I don't know, man. If you'd started the album with this, I think it would have been great as well. But Rip This Joint is, to me, sounds like cocaine fueled frenzy. Like it's a great foot tapping, head bobbing rock song. But listening to it in the context of what these guys were into at the time, it really sounds like like this song was fueled by a lot of stuff. But I love it, dude. I love this tune actually.
Yeah, this song I wrote that it sounds like they're playing in a bar fight.
Yes,
Uh,
they do. Yeah.
it's like a full rockabilly sprint this entire
Yeah.
song, and like if you're just thinking about it, if you want to like put it into like a movie perspective, if you think about that scene in Roadhouse where the guys are just they have the cage in front of the stage and people are just whipping beer bottles at it. This song kind of captures
Rawhide.
that vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one more time, here's Rawhide again. Yeah. Yeah. I love it too. I love it though, man.
A fun note about this song is that Mick Jagger's singing so fast on this track that they actually had to record it line by line to put it on the song.
Oh,
To
that's
get it
wonderful.
to get it to sound the way it sounds. And in a lot of ways, this is a punk rock song, man. This is punk before punk
That's a great call.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's their fastest song, supposedly. You believe that? I don't know of any other song that's faster than this.
No, not at all. I wonder if this is kind of like the Dewey Cox thing, or where Johnny Cash is playing his songs too fast because maybe they've done a little bit too much speed.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it works.
And this song is in and out at 2 minutes 23 seconds. Like it's almost half the clock of the first tune. Because I don't know if you could take another 2 minutes of this song because it's relentless. You know what I mean? It's relentless.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's punk before punk. Punk before bands were doing just a tight 2 minute 20-second song.
That's a good point. Yeah. Mick and Keith are the songwriters on this one, kids. And again, the band is on this as well. Mick Taylor is playing guitar on some of these tracks as well. Nicky Hopkins on piano on track 1, Jim Price on trumpet and trombone, Bobby Keys on sax. And those guys will be appearing again. And of course, with the rest of the band, who we did not even talk about, Bill Wyman on bass, Charlie Watts on drums. Rest in peace, Charlie Watts. Is Bill Wyman's no longer with us either? Is he, or is he?
You know, I am a Stones fan, but as far as like keeping up with what members have been in and out and which ones are still alive, I'm probably not the person to ask on that.
Well, Bill Wyman's probably going to always be known as. Wait, how young was she? But right. And I'm not trying to overlook that. I think Bill's actually an underrated bass player, man. Am I off track? Because, I mean, some of his bass work on this album is really good, dude.
No, I don't think so. It's actually one of my talking points in the song that we're about to talk about. So that's funny.
Yeah, I think he's underrated, man. But, yeah. Yeah. Again, like solid band, and they're still going. I was going to save this conversation to the end of part 2. They're still going. We don't have to give your thoughts right now. We can save it. But good Lord, guys, like, I don't know. If you're a fan, you're having the time of your life. But if you can afford the tickets, I imagine the tickets, like Paul's tickets, are not extremely affordable.
Yeah, they're not. Paul McCartney's tickets are definitely headed the way of a lot of these older musicians where there's a there's a low supply and a high demand, right? So when that happens, your tickets can be that expensive. I will say, I want to give props to Neil Young.
You should always give props to Neil Young, by the way.
He has done a really good job about keeping his ticket prices for that kind of musician, knowing that he could charge more and do like the Ticketmaster surge pricing and all of that stuff. Staying away from that. So I read an article about it recently, and it stuck with me because a lot of bands aren't doing that. And that being said, he's not at the same level as the Stones and or the Beatles or the remaining Beatles like a Ringo or a Paul.
Mhm.
I saw Paul McCartney live. I got really lucky. He played at Piedmont Park. The tickets were $80. I will probably never see Paul McCartney again. It's just not financially feasible
I
for
mean,
me.
dude, they won't let you put your right foot into the building for $80. Like,
Yeah, and
you can't
seeing
use the
him at a
bathroom
park,
for that.
you don't have to worry about seating. It's all
Right,
general
right.
admissions. I can get as close to the stage as I want. I mean, like, it was such a unique experience. He is playing a very similar set list on this tour he's on right now, but it was incredible. But now that I've seen him, I don't need to spend $1,000 to see him again.
I love Paul, but his voice is gone.
Boink Studios YouTube is the home of Tom Clark's 6M podcast. Tom Clark's main event, Bear Mode, a podcast review of The Bear, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Subscribe to the channel for archives that date back to 2014, with new content being uploaded every week. And check out boinkstudios.com for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Bookmark the site today.
And it's okay that he's still playing, and hats off to him. And I hope he keeps going for as long as he wants to go. But his voice is spent, as you can imagine. Screaming, Little Richard for 50 years will do that to you. Like, whew.
He sounded phenomenal when I saw him. Now, granted, this would have been 15 years ago.
Right.
So it's a long time ago. But anyways,
Sure.
I got us off topic here. It's cool the Stones are still playing and that people, new generation is getting a chance to see them live. That's
I
not,
agree with that. Yeah.
Even if you're getting a lesser version of, if you're a younger cat and you fell in love with the Stones, you at least still have the opportunity to see them. Like bands like I never got to see Thin Lizzy, for instance.
Oh, man.
You
I
know what
bet
I
that
mean?
was
Like
awesome.
there's a lot of bands that like I would have loved that I became fans of that were already done by the time
Yeah.
around. So it's cool that like a band like the Stones is still touring, and they still sound pretty good.
Dude, I got into blues and jazz as a grown man. So 85% of those guys were gone. Like, there was nobody left, man. Like, holy Lord, I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, it's
For
gonna be hard
sure.
to catch a Muddy Waters tour, right?
Yeah, for sure. By the way, Bill Wyman's still with us, kids, at the time of the time of this recording, so that's good. Let's talk about track number 3 at 2 minutes 59 seconds. Shake Your Hips. This is a Slim Harpo song. Mick is on vocals, of course, and harmonica. Keith's on guitar, of course. Taylor's back on this one. The rest of the band's here. This is a swampy blues cover, and it's close to Slim Harpo's original, if you know it. And it's really going into the Stones, Louisiana influenced sound and their respect to the Delta blues. Like, those blues guys back in the day, you mentioned Muddy, and Muddy's like, who are these British white boys? Who are these guys? But man, they had such reverence for guys like Muddy and Lightning Hopkins and all those guys, man. And you could just see it from a mile away. They ended up basically, I was going to use the word stealing, ripping off everything that ever did. But, that's another podcast, I guess, for another day. But what do you think about this one, man? It's in and out fairly quickly at 2:59.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable cover. I think it fits where they're putting it at on the album. And there's not a ton to say about it as far as like it's just a straight blues cover.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not doing anything weird on this one. It's not the same thing as like Rocks Off or Rip This Joint, which kind of
Mm-hmm.
are unique things to themselves. This is the thing that the Stones do that people either love or hate. There's a lot of people that don't like when they do these just straight blues covers. Or go the route of what you were talking about. Of well, Stones just steal stuff from everybody else. But I mean, that's Keith's. That's who Keith was influenced by.
Sure.
There's tons of videos of him playing with various blues people over the years. There's the famous one with him playing with Chuck Berry, right?
Oh,
And
God.
Chuck just berating him,
Woo!
and poor Keith is like, "They say you shouldn't meet your heroes," and you're like, "Oh, man, it's
Dude,
terrible."
Keith looks like a kid who knows to keep his mouth shut because daddy's mad. Like, Keith didn't I don't think Keith backtalked one time, did he, through that whole bit?
No, and Chuck Berry's like telling him he's playing it wrong, and it's not
Yes.
that Keith is playing it wrong. He's playing it exactly right. He's just playing it in open G. It's like Chuck Berry's not even listening to the fact the notes are right. He's just like, your hands are wrong.
Yeah.
For
Look
those
at my
out there that
hands,
haven't
boy.
seen it, go check it out. It is the maybe don't meet your heroes kind of thing.
It's so good. It's so cool too because you see guys in a certain light, but when you see them with the guys that they respect and grew up listening to, it's a different thing. Like, yeah, there's a lot of examples of that floating around out there, but that's a great clip, man.
Yeah, and I think that the reason I brought it up is because like that thing where people are like, well, they just play blues or whatever. I mean, that's because those are his heroes, right? And
Mm.
in that clip, you can clearly see how much like a Chuck Berry means to him, for instance.
Yeah. I always felt bad for Julian Lennon on that show because he come out like his hair was like a greaser and Chuck Berry's like, he looks just like his daddy. Look at him. He looks just like his daddy. And I'm like, oh God, Chuck, and then he comes out trying to sing, not trying. Julian's a great singer. And he just had a new album drop, by the way, that I need to check out. I love Julian actually, but he comes out singing Johnny Be Good. And I'm thinking, I just don't know if I'm Julian, how in the world I take the stage with Chuck Berry singing Johnny Be Good to this crowd. And I'm the spitting image of my dad. And I can't imagine, Chris. I'm sure it had to have been freaking hard for that guy.
Yeah. Julian gets put into a lot of weird situations like that.
He does.
Playing with these legends that either knew his dad or played with his dad, or he always gets. It seems like he always ends up on like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame shows or like these big group things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would if I was him, I probably would be like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's
Thanks
let
for the
Chuck-
invite.
Just let Chuck sing it. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Can I just play guitar?
Guitar, yeah. Let's play
Yeah,
some rhythm guitar. We have 4 guitar players up here.
Yeah, I'll just play back here. Can I just stand over here? I'll be fine.
Just like when you give your little like brother or sister a controller and it's unplugged, and you're like, "Here, use
Yes.
this." That's where I would want to be in that situation.
Look, Daddy, I'm hitting the buttons. Yeah.
At least Chuck can't yell at me.
Right. Yes. Boy, you're holding your hands the wrong way. Come here, look. It's great.
Oh, it's just such a crazy clip because like you could tell that Keith Richards wants to say like, "I play an open G, dude. It's different." Like,
Right. Yes.
but he's not gonna say that.
Chuck, I've sold a few records, my friend. I've sold a few. Like, give me some credit here, my man.
Yeah.
Let's
It's such a weird time period too, because like the Stones and their various addictions are not really the same as Chuck Berry and his addiction of like.
Oh my
just
God.
liquor.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. Jeez. Chuck. Yeah, as we said, don't meet your idols. It's not a great idea.
Is this the first album they do since Altamont?
I can't answer that question, but I think the timing has got to be close, doesn't it?
Because Altamont was in '69. This album comes out in what, '71?
72.
72. Okay, there may be
Yeah.
something in between there. I was just curious.
This album was let's see. This Sticky Fingers came out in 71.
Okay, so yeah, there was. Okay, so Sticky Fingers was in between there. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. It popped in my head as we were talking about these other various incidents with the Stones.
Yeah, yeah. Another band that's been involved in some weird stuff over the years because it took them a long time to live that down, a long time. And for some fans, it probably stayed with them. I mean, you grow up hearing your parents talk about, hey, I was there and I saw this happen and I saw that happen. And yeah, crazy, man.
Now, I will say it wasn't uncommon for bands to hire the Hells Angels as security guards. Like the Stones get a lot of crap for that, but there's like a famous story of Evel Knievel also hiring them and running into some issues, similar issues, not to the same extent as Altamont, but similar issues. So if you want another crazy Hells Angels story out there, look up the Evel Knievel Hells Angels security when he does the, I think it's the Grand Canyon jump, or he shoots himself in that rocket across the Grand Canyon.
Yes. Just the way you said, dude, I'm of that age. I grew up idolizing Evel Knievel. I had the toy. I had the Evel on the bike with you put him on the thing, you do the crank and you hit the button and he takes off. I had that toy. Like, he was my guy. He was a superhero to me, man. Hence why I wore a cape. It was great.
Yeah, I kind of grew up with that as well. My dad being a big Evil Knievel fan, and
Yeah.
90s we had his son Robbie Knievel, so I watched all of Evil's jumps and then Robbie's jumps, and yeah,
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing. But also
Same.
interesting story if you want another Hell's Angel security story. I know I'm getting kind of off topic here, but
I think I'm going to hire Hell's Angels to for security for Boink Studios. That way, when we go out and about, we're
yeah,
protected.
maybe I'll
So
send them to go fight Spotify.
yes, it's a great idea. Yeah. So let's see. Track number 4 is Casino Boogie at 3 minutes 34 seconds. Mick and Keith are songwriters here again. The band is back on this, of course. The lyrics were reportedly assembled from random phrases written on scraps of paper and reflects the atmosphere of excess and confusion where they recorded uh, in France. The opening guitar lick, I only have to hear the first bit of that and I immediately know what the song is. So if nothing else, Chris, this is very memorable. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, the opening guitar lick is great. Keith is one of the kings of that as far as like hooking
Yeah.
you with a lick. He's like, really good at writing a very memorable lick. Yeah, I mean, I like this song a lot. I think, like I said, we're flowing. This is kind of getting into the meat of a Stones album, right? Like you're getting
Yes.
your bluesy Stones, which is to be expected.
Yeah, for sure. Bluesy. It's a great call. Yeah, because this very much is a blues tune, man. For sure. Let's see. Yeah, again, things kind of just put together, kids. In 2010, Jagger said that the song was done in cut ups. It's in the style of William Burroughs and so on. Million Dollar Sad doesn't mean anything. We did it in LA in the studio. We just wrote phrases on bits of paper and cut them up, the Burroughs style. And then you throw them into a hat, pick them out, and assemble them into verses. We did it for one number, but it worked. We probably did it because we couldn't think of anything to write.
There's
That's
something
great.
inherently American about this album in general that
Yes,
is,
yes.
which is weird because we're talking about, a bunch of Brits playing in France or recording in France. But it does have a very like, this is American rock and roll vibe to it.
Dude, you may have just touched on one of the things that connects so many American fans to this band because, I mean, Zeppelin did a lot of, it's the Highlands and it's medieval and it's, it sounds like, Highlander the movie, which I'm not knocking Zeppelin. I love Zeppelin, but like, the Stones just do dirty rock and roll. That's kind of what they've always been, dirty bluesy rock and roll. Is that one of the reasons why you think American fans tend to gravitate toward them so much? Because they when they hear them, they think this sounds more like an American band. Am I reading too much into that?
No, I mean they sound more like like a straightforward rock and roll band. It's they're not singing about Middle Earth, right? Like I don't know that a
Yes.
lot of Americans have a deep connection to Middle Earth, whereas a lot of people can relate to honky tonk women. You know what I'm getting at? Like
Right, yeah.
it's kind of a different thing. Not that I love this Zeppelin, so I'm not knocking them or anything. But
No,
when
no.
you're talking about lyrically and vibe and feel, this is definitely this album in particular comes off more of an American album in comparison to some of these other legendary Brit bands.
And the slide on this is good too. This is a jam song, Chris. Like if I don't know if you've played this with anybody, but I imagine this would be a fun song to play because once the vocals and the chorus is over, you're just jamming. That's got to be a fun song to do.
I've never played this song. I think the thing about playing Stone songs, especially if you're playing at a bar or a venue, a show, generally you're going to pick one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Because you got to get everyone in the band to have listened to it and know it. That's the guy. But I'm sure there's people out there that do cover it. Also, I am not the best slide guitar player, so this would be one that I would probably steer clear of.
Mm. Yeah, I like this song a lot, man. I really and I love that he was just honest about the lyrics. Yeah, lyrics don't mean anything. Like John did the same thing. Like was it I Am the Walrus? They're just nonsense. And they all, sorry, I'm not trying to make the Beal podcast, I promise you. But one of the best things about that band is that they never bought into their own crap. They just didn't. They just let the fans go nuts because they're like they had a laugh over people trying to interpret the lyrics of like I Am the Walrus, and John's like they don't mean anything. The song doesn't mean a thing. I just put stuff together. You guys are have fun, but nothing. It doesn't mean a thing. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's also this time period in music where people weren't so concerned with the lyrics having to mean as much. It's part
Right.
of it's just an instrument on the track kind of thing, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
another band that's well known for that is Def Leppard. Like, uh, living like a lover with a radar phone, that means nothing. It just
Nothing.
sounds good in the song. So
Yeah.
I think it's a different mindset than what a lot of musicians, do now or try to accomplish now.
Yeah. Like a video event. Demolition Woman, can I be your man? What? What is that exactly?
There's a great story out there. Like if you've watched anything about Def Leppard talking about recording that song, where the producer actually helped write wrote most of the lyrics of it. And it's
Uh,
literally just because it sounds good on the song. They have absolutely no meaning.
that's wonderful. I love that story actually. Let's see. Track number 5. We're moving right along, kids. As Chris said, we're getting into the meat of what a Stones album, but maybe what you'd expect. And if you came to the Stones later in life and were maybe trying to go through their discography, and if you happen to be going in order, you may have started playing Exile on Main Street and said, "What is this?" But by the time you get to track number 5, I would think that you're going, "Oh, okay, so this, yep, here we go." Tumbling Dice at 3 minutes 47 seconds. Got to be one of the most instantly recognizable, as much as Rocks Off is, Chris. I love this song. I love the sound. I love the. Sometimes when I can't think of how to describe something because it's connected on such a weird level for me, I come up with the word timeless. It has a timeless sound. This song does. The sound. This could be written today, or it could have been written in 1920 by a blues guy. It just sounds great. Like, there's just something about it. I love the production on it. I love the background singers. I mean, what do you think about Tumbling Dice, man? Is this one, would you consider this a commercial track for this album, or is this just more of the same what they're already doing here?
I mean, I think this is the big single off the album, right?
Let's see. In terms of singles, they only had 2 singles off this album. Tumbling Dice was the first one, April 14th, and Happy was the second one. That was it.
Yeah, and what's crazy about this song in particular, from what I've read and heard over the years, is that Mick couldn't get the lyrics nailed down in a way that he liked his voice
Mm,
sounding. So this
mhm.
almost didn't make the album, which would have been really sad because it's a
Crazy.
great tune. But yeah, the most, to me, the biggest thing about the song is it has this like crazy, like very lazy and loose, very loose feeling groove to it, and
Mm.
that goes to your point of a great bass player. The way that this song sounds, you get these great big gospel backup singing. Um, yeah, and Mick Jagger famously said that this is about gambling with women, and I don't know what that means, but that's what the song's about, kids.
So this is good. So he said this. I'm not sure when he said this. Um, he says, "quote It's weird when your lyric things come from on Tumbling Dice. I sat down with the housekeeper and talked to her about gambling. She liked to play dice, and I really didn't know much about it, but I got it off her and managed to make the song out of that. It was written to fit Keith's riff. It's about gambling and love, an old blues trick, and that's all it is. Isn't that great?"
Yeah, yeah, it's a great song. I could easily see this. If you're going to pick a single for this album, I could see how they landed on this one.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. By the way, we haven't really talked much about the actual lyrics here because their stuff is innuendo's not the word. They'll just straight up go there because it's the Stones. But what are you thinking about in terms of the actual songwriting so far? Like, "Baby, I Go Crazy," there's "Fever in the Funk House Now," "The Slow Down Bitchin' Got My Poor Feet a Itchin'." The deuce is still wild. Like, again, nonsense lyrics on some tracks, but I mean, at least it sounds creative. Is this the drugs talking that we're hearing here, Chris, or what?
Well, I mean, like the older like Mississippi blues stuff, the lyrics are kind of like that,
True.
right? So it's just them kind of taking that home. If you take that and you just put it over like a slowed down, 8 bar or 12 bar blues or whatever, it's
Mhm.
gonna you're gonna be like, oh, that's a blues song, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so the lyrics have that vibe for sure, and that's a lot of Stones, right? Like, for every like for everything that's like, that God, why can't I think of the name now? I'm losing my mind.
Are we singer
Sympathy
song?
with the Devil, for instance, for like every one of the Stone songs
Oh
that are
yeah,
like that, like big lyrics and crazy sounds. There's like 4 of these, these kind of bluesy gospel songs.
that's a great call. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's that many at least. Like the big production songs. I'm glad you brought that up because like Sympathy for the Devil came on along later, and Paint It Black, and God, I can't remember the name of that one track where they had the soul singer come in at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to belt out her verse. And if you've heard her isolated track, it is effing amazing because she had pipes, man. And I know you know the song I'm talking about. And now I'm
We're both
catching whatever
slipping
you have.
because we have 18 other songs in front of us.
Is
I
that
think
what it
that's what
is?
it
Maybe
is.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't pull Sympathy for the Devil out of my head. I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull that one. To be fair, I did just wake up from a nap.
It's just a shot away. It's just a shot
Yeah.
away.
Oh yeah.
That
Of
one.
course.
Yeah,
But
because dude,
that's what I was getting at though.
yeah,
This is their meat and potatoes.
yes,
Like that's more of the outlier kind of songs, which is funny because those are the songs that most people know. If you're not a Stones fan, those are the songs that people are probably going to think of when they think of the Rolling Stones.
But the musicians would know these other songs, and maybe the fans that didn't come to the Stones through the commercial hits, they came through them through other means. Like I felt like people would say, "Well, I fell in love with this band from the start." This would be one of the songs that they would say, "Yep, that's one of the reasons I like this band."
And I mean, this album in general feels more like a Keith album than a Mick album. And I
Great
think
call.
that's part of it. And obviously with Graham Parsons being there, a lot of this is Southern blues. It just inherently has that vibe. I don't think there's any way around that. I mean, this entire album is steeped in blues, country, and gospel.
Yeah.
With a little bit of R&B sprinkled on it. But yeah, I mean, and as far as the lyrics go, the entire album does have this vibe. It's like a reflection of like the decadence they're living in and the decay of the band around them, which is tied into their various addictions at this point in time.
That's a good call too. Yeah. Like what's the song Miss You? Is that the name of the song?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mick's song. To me that's a very Mick Jagger song. Like I mean Keith's on it. It doesn't sound like a Keith song at all. That's a very Mick Jagger tune, man. That's how it's always sounded in my head anyway.
And we're not going to get to talk about this song, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out there because I have been talking about Graham Parsons almost as much as you've been talking about the Beatles. But there are some Graham Parsons songs that I'm pretty sure he may have sold for drugs on this album. One that we're going to get to on side 2. But famously, yes, for anyone who's listened to Wild Horses, that's another one that a lot of people considered actually a Graham Parsons song that he sold. There's a Flying Burrito Brothers version of that song, and I would recommend anyone that likes the song Wild Horses to go listen to that version because I think that is the pinnacle of that song.
I think I've heard it, but I can't remember how long it's been since I've heard it, but I remember loving that version.
Also, people should listen to more Flying Burrito Brothers in general. They're a great band.
That's something I need to take you up on, actually, because I don't listen enough to those guys. Sometimes I'll take a recommendation or I'll try something or I'll go like for whatever reason, last night I suddenly started listening to Fabulous Thunderbirds. And I don't know how much you've ever gotten to their stuff, Chris, but as a guy who plays, you talk about a tight band. Like even their live stuff, you're like, holy God, it sounds like the album. Like start and stop, on cue, on point, just in and out, do their thing. Kim Wilson sounds great. I mean, Jimmy Vaughn is a effing legend. But like sometimes I'll just go down a rabbit hole I listened to like 12 different versions of Tough Enough last night, like of them in concert.
Like just different concert versions. I do that too.
Yes. There was one where Stevie's on stage with him, and I don't know what Stevie's playing, but it's not his guitar. It's something else that I couldn't even tell what the model is by looking at it. And I'm like, does someone just hand this to him because he didn't bring his guitar? What happened?
He was just there. They were like, here you go, bud.
Yeah. He's like, all right, I'll play it. I don't care.
Anytime you see Stevie Ray Vaughan playing anything other than one of his Stratocasters, it's kind of like a mind-blowing moment.
It is. God. And you know what? I got sad. I got sad for Jimmy and Stevie both because I was like, oh my God, dude. Like, legends, man. If I think about it too much, I get sad. Like, oh my God, I can't even think about it.
Yeah, for those
Crazy.
out there that haven't listened to the Fabulous Thunderbirds, they're a great band. And Jimmy
Oof.
Vaughn is probably one of the most underrated blues guitar players out there. He never got the same love as Stevie or Clapton.
No, and that's a shame because he's very, very good, like naturally talented. But let's see. Track number 6, kids. Sweet Virginia, 4 minutes and 26 seconds. Just when you think you got this band figured out on this album, Chris, they hit you with Sweet Virginia.
Right, and this is particular track that is not that I do not think is a Stone song or originally written for this band.
There you go.
This is the one I was alluding to. This is a almost a country gospel song, which kind of falls more into what I would think Grant Parsons would be picking around when he's hanging out here with these cats.
So, what's your vibe on this overall? Do you like it?
I love it, dude. This is a great sing along chorus too. The
It
Come
is.
On Down, Sweet Virginia. It's a fun one to sing along with. It's like they're leaning into Americana before it became trendy, and that's why it seems like it has Graham's fingerprints all over it.
Ooh, good call. Yeah, the whole Americana thing, which we don't have to spend a lot of time on that. Some of that stuff I can dig, and other parts of it I'm like, yeah, it's too much. I don't know. And labels suck. As you know, labels suck because they pigeonhole an artist into one thing. And that's why artists complain all the time. Like, who called me that? That's not what I am. Like, why do you guys insist on labeling us? Like, but when you hear the word Americana, I immediately know what you mean by that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy. Yeah. I like this tune. If I told you I loved it, I don't know that I love it, but I can listen to it. I don't really skip it. But it's absolutely Graham Parson influence on here on Keith for sure, and the whole drug induced atmosphere. Which, guys, if you can't hear that in this, I mean, you can hear it in a lot of these tracks. But it's at least this song is sweet. It's not like, again, it's not the cocaine fueled chaos of rip this joint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean this is more of like this side 2. Is kind of where I think some of the hidden gems of Exile on Main Street is. And what makes this album a lot different than other Stones albums.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, kids. The way this album was originally divided up, we're into side 2 now. But as we said before, there's 18 tracks. We're going to hit 9 and then come back next time with 9. That way we're even Steven. I've only done a few shows where we had 3 parts. We did Avengers Endgame in 3 parts. Because there's no way, Chris. It was just too freaking big, man. Like,
well,
we wanted to do justice to the movie
for some reason because we also did. We've done a couple of these now where it had to be split into 2 parts.
Well, it's the thing is, what we talk about here, we genuinely love or have a great respect for, or both. And you don't want to glaze over them. You don't want to be like, what'd you think? I like it. Cool. Here's the next one. Like, you want to go into the backstory and you want to talk about it and give your side of it. Like, I want to do it justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that, and we don't need Stones fans mad at us finding us in the street.
Well, street fight man. I'm just saying, you teed it up. Teed it up.
I guess I did. I didn't mean to. That was a complete accident.
Happy accident. There you go. Yeah. Like, again, I don't hate this tune. By the way, I don't know if I've said this yet. I think the horns just add something to this album. Do I think they should be on every Stones album? No. But dude, if you took all the horns off this album, Chris, it's a different album. Every track's different from that point, man.
I think the producer knew it needed something else. And that's why when we talked about this at the beginning, a lot of that stuff was recorded post, like in LA.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's not even recorded in the same setup. But yeah, this is a different album without those. I'm not a huge horn guy, but I think they make a big difference on this album. I'd be curious to hear this album all the way through without the horns, like just the raw recordings.
Yeah. I'm sure it exists somewhere.
there's
there's
so
never
many versions of this album and
right.
outtakes, and it's just the way that they recorded this album kind of lends itself to that.
I mean, Tupac's had a new album come out every year for like 20 years or something. Like, how do they keep doing this? Like, right? Like, there'll be something somewhere. Oh, here it is, guys. This is the whole freaking thing with no horns. Like, all right,
God, I just
cool.
can't how long did it take them to record this album? It was like 6 months to a year, right?
It was a long time. Yeah. Longer than
So,
that.
like, imagine you're living in a new country, uh, and every day is you waking up and working on this album. There's not
Every
really,
day.
there's not anything else going on for you. It's kind of just, the whole setup is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Going to work. And I got to go work on this album. They're like, I can record this record. We're not going to get this friggin' record done. Well, put the heroin down, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
maybe we need to send Graham home.
I'm just saying. Hey, well, listen, to your point, Exile on Main Street came out in 72. To be fair, Goat's Head Soup did come out in 73. And if you think that's a memorable album, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But
I wonder how much of that is just outtakes from this album.
that's
though.
fair. Listen. Real quick. First album, just a glimpse of how much these guys did between 64 and 2023. I'm not going to name the albums, but listen. 3 and 64, 3 and 65. I'm sorry, 4 and 65. 66, 2 and 67, 1 and 68, 69, 71, 72, 73, 74, 76, 78, 80, 81, 83, 86, 89,
Yeah.
94, 97, 2005, 2016, 2023. That is freaking nuts, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few artists that have like the amount of catalog.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that, if you're looking at the Stones in this giant catalog, they're not all. Some of those albums are skippable, if I'm being completely honest.
Sure.
This is not like when we were talking about the DLR years of Van Halen. Like, well, you just got to listen to all of them. They're all good.
Right. Yeah, of course. Let's see. Track number 7, kids, 4 minutes, 18 seconds, Torn and Frayed. I don't know how you feel about this one. There's something very sad about this tune, and it's how it hits me, I guess. But it is a weary portrait of a fading musician echoing country soul influences like Graham Parsons, which we can hear that. I don't know, dude. Maybe it's the steel guitar. There's something happening here. I don't know. It just sounds like that you're playing this at a funeral. It just sounds down to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has that vibe. This is more of like a Nashville song for sure, than anything else on this album. Maybe with Shine a Light, I guess, being. Well, Shine a Light is even more gospel than this, but this feels very much Graham Parsons' country song.
Yeah.
The pedal steel sounds great on it. I think I love that. And there's a couple songs on this side that they kind of originally wrote for Brian Jones. Shine a Light's another one, as he had just passed away not long before they started recording this album.
Wow. Yeah. Such a long time ago, man. Such a long time ago. But he, another guy that just struggled for the longest time, and then it just eventually got him, man. It just eventually got him.
Well, that's like the crazy thing about Keith Richards still being alive, right?
Yes,
like
100%.
From this time period, doing the same things that a lot of these other people did that are no longer with us is kind of crazy.
Yeah, what's the old joke? When it's all said and done, cockroaches and Keith Richards, that'll be all that's left.
Cockroaches, Keith Richards, and Ric Flair.
Yeah, Keith's like, what happened? Where did everyone go? He's gone and it's over. Yeah.
That would be a funny world to look down on, with just cockroaches left and Keith and Keith and Ric Flair yelling at each other,
just hanging out. Yeah. It's like the Odd Couple. It's like the new version of the Odd Couple.
Very much so.
He's yelling about their socks on the floor, or whatever. It's just some weird dystopian nightmare of an Odd Couple reboot.
Yeah.
God, now I want to see that.
Yeah, like a grumpy old men.
Boy, you talk about movies that are so underrated. I loved both those films, man.
Walter Matthau cracks me up in
God.
both of those movies.
Matthau's so good. There's that bit where he's sitting, and I can't remember the actor's name that played his son, Kevin. Can't remember his name. Kevin, some great actor in his own right. But they're sitting there watching TV, and the dog is sitting there, and it's real quiet. And his son just goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, "What?" He says, "What are you feeding this dog?" And Matthau goes, "Hormel chili." And he just goes, "Oh," he goes, "He likes it." I don't know why that cracks me up so much. His timing's impeccable. Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you. Again, I couldn't tell you if I sat around listening to this and got myself in a good mood, because it's not really happening too awful much. Again, this is kind of sad. So according to what's been said about this, the music comes as close to definitive country rock or Stax like country soul. I can hear a Stax influence in there. Now that I've read it, I can hear that. Let's see. Al Perkins, a good friend and collaborator of Parsons, performed the song's pedal steel guitar. And let's see. In terms of lyrics, Torn and Frayed follows a vagabond-like guitar player whose coat is torn and frayed. So there you go. Really easy to understand, kids, what that's all about for sure. But again, if it were me, like telling you, hey, this song makes me happy, or I can't wait to listen to this song or whatever, I absolutely would not have listed this one as being one of my favorites well, I can't say not one of my favorites, but not being one that I would just absolutely, again, put on to get into a good mood or to enjoy my day or whatever. This song would absolutely not be one of those. So, but yeah, again, just very sad, man. Is this have you ever played Torn and Frayed, by the way, Chris?
I have not. Like I said, most of the Stone songs I played would have been, like Beast of Burden, things like that.
Right.
Because a lot of times when you're playing here in Georgia, you're playing at, bar venues and things of that. Those songs tend to fit the mood of whatever else I'd be playing. Also, most of the bands I played in are completely different than the Stones. Like I played in, all country bands and metal bands and alt rock bands, not really things that you could sprinkle in the Stones. So most of the time when I would do a Stones song, it would be like if I'm playing an open mic, and then it just depends on what crowd's there. So like one of those songs would get thrown in would be like, like something like Beast of Burden. And then I might, if the crowd seems into that, maybe some like Tom Petty, or I would usually throw in like an Eagles tune. Like, that's usually like something like Desperado. Like it just depends on the vibe, depends on the crowd a lot of times when it comes to, well, at least for me, when it comes to what covers, I'm going to throw into a set.
That makes sense.
This would be a fun one to cover, though. This might be a Facebook cover. I might throw that up there on Instagram and stuff for you guys. I'll try to make a note of it and do that soon.
There you go. Watch the copyright cops, because they're out there.
I haven't gotten hit with anything for doing covers or reels.
Crazy.
Which is really crazy. But yeah, like I don't know. It doesn't. Now, granted, I'm not trying to monetize any of that stuff, and that probably goes a long way.
Sure. Yeah, they can't have that. Because again, and kids, I will always back the creator. I'm a creator myself. I've written things through the years that I have found on someone else's website where they took my name off of it and called it their own. And it sucks. It's the worst feeling, because you feel like, I put a lot of effort into that. Who the F do you think you are? Like, and you at least give me props, give me credit. I've had people reach out and say, hey, can I do so-and-so with this? And I'll give you credit. Absolutely. Please and thank you. So like, I'll always back the creator, but Chris, a lot of times it's not the creators coming after you. It's, Bob Dylan doesn't know that you did a song. He don't care. It's the freaking record guys who have more money than God, who are like, yep, need that money. Got to get that money from you. Got to throw our claim on there. And I'm like, yeah, all right, man.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of in this people spin us way off topic, but a lot of these people have to end up trying to buy their music back. So a lot of
Yes.
times when you're getting gone after, it's by like Universal or
Yeah.
Atlantic Records or one of the various record labels that tend to just own a crazy amount of albums. Like, God, at one point, didn't did Michael Jackson own a bunch of the Beatles stuff? Like that stuff gets really weird, and then it was bought by Bank of America at some point. Like, that's kind of crazy. But then you
Yeah.
get artists now like Taylor Swift, and well, screw it, I'll just buy all of my stuff back, and then I'll re-release it. And like that kind of stuff is like the world has changed in the way albums get made now, where you're not making
Yeah.
money off the album. So a lot of artists now do own the rights to their music because they're funding and then recording them themselves.
Well, kids, I'll tell you something. If you're not a Taylor Swift fan, that's fine. But anybody calls that girl stupid, you're out of your mind. Dude, she is a smart girl, man. Like she knows who her audience is. She knows how to do her thing. She knows how to play the game. Like I got respect for a lot of that stuff, man. I mean, I'm not into her music too much, but she's a smart girl, man.
I mean, I just like the fact that she was being a complete dick and bought her own music back and then re-released it. Just to
That's a punk rock
screw
move right there,
her
buddy.
number. It is a very punk rock thing to do, so I'll give you credit for that.
So track number 8, kids, Sweet Black Angel, 2 minutes 58 seconds. If anyone knows the Stones, you probably know the story behind this, but this is not your typical Stones song. It's one of the very few, and you could probably count on one hand how many times the Stones ever got political. They're doing it here. This song is about Angela Davis, political activist, scholar, and author from Alabama. And they wanted to sing this song, they meaning Keith and Mick, did the lyrics in a backwoods tone, in their words, might obscure the fact that this is one of the few overtly political Stones tunes, which it absolutely is. I mean, this might be a tough one for some folks, Chris, because the N word is in this song, and it's hard for I can't speak for white guys, all right, but if I'm listening to a rap tune and that if I'm singing along, I just kind of skip that word, but so I'm sure it can be tough. I mean, John Lennon did the song "Woman Is the End of the World." So the Brits, man, they just don't. I don't know. They didn't really get into all that. I can't say this or can't say that. Like a lot of the racism stuff when they got here. I mean, again, I go back to the Beatles. The song "Blackbird" supposedly about that, and they just didn't understand. Like the Beatles refused to play in the South. They're like, if we're not going to play to segregated audiences, you put them together, we're not going to be there. To them, it's like, what is the deal? What's wrong with you guys? Which I kind of is both sad and awesome at the same time. But this is also, Chris, not one of those songs you kind of tap your foot to and listen to put you in a good mood. But it's not exactly a downer either. So before I talk it to death anymore, what do you think about this one?
I mean, it's one of those songs like where yes, the N word is used, but it is an activism song more than
Right.
anything else. I mean, it's more of an insult to people that would say that term than them just doing it.
Mhm.
It's an okay song. It's not one of my favorites on this side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Not one of my favorites either. So, do you think if they'd wanted to keep going down this road of, hey, we're bothered by this, we have a platform, we should say something. Don't tell me what I can't write about. I'm writing about this. If they kept pursuing that, I mean, this band starts to become something different at some point. Like, could you have imagined them going down that road, or do you think that they ever should have done it to begin with?
I mean, so this album is kind of one of the albums that's considered kind of the death of the hippie dippy movement.
Mm.
There's a whole documentary about just 1969 in itself and the Stones, and then this album and kind of the start of the next movement after the hippie era. Like
Mhm.
it's kind of starting with Altamont. So a lot of that it would be really really weird if the Stones went down a political route, considering how different they were during the time period. If you were going to do it, it should have been from what, like 65 to 69, like I was saying, like you would have wanted to do it during that time
Mm.
period, because America as a whole was changing by the time the 70s come around, and they're working on this album. One of my problems with the song is something that Mick Jagger kind of does with a lot of the Southern country or gospel songs is he almost sings it mockingly of the South.
Ooh, yeah. I can hear that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's kind of thumbed his nose at people before. Famously, he said things through the years. And you're like, well, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? So
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's also just the way he decides to sing some of the more country
sure.
songs when they do a country song. It is that's why if you actually like go and listen to the Wild Horses or like the by Flying Burrito Brothers, it's almost a completely different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But who am I to judge Mick Jagger? He seems like he's done pretty all right for himself.
he's got, I mean, he may outlive all of us along with Keith. Hey, you don't know, man. So yeah, again, I don't know if Sweet Black Angel is something I would put on any old time, but
I mean, it's not a bad song or anything.
No.
We're kind of talking about it, but like, it as far as on this album, I think it is one of the weaker songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I see what they were going for. Do I think they accomplished it? I mean, one guy's opinion, I don't know if they accomplished what they set out to accomplish. And I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish. If they were just, hey, we want to say something.
It is kind of a weird
All right,
one,
well then
right?
what are you saying?
And it doesn't really like the rest of this side is kind of somber in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yes.
And so the song is it just doesn't really fit on the side. Maybe if they threw it later in the album or something, I don't know. It almost doesn't like fit on this. It should be on a different album.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Well, speaking of maybe doesn't fit and not sure where to put it, Loving Cup, it's how we'll end this episode, kids. Track number 9, 4 minutes, 25 seconds. I like this song quite a bit. I like the arrangement. I like that it feels like you got that. I mean, you got definitely got like a gospel piano when they hit those hard notes, just bang, just slamming those keys, man. Like, I really like this, but I'm not quite sure I know what to do with it, if that makes any sense. What do you think about this one?
This song is a lot of fun. Like when I was writing my notes, I wrote, "It's a beautiful mess." Mick and Keith's vocals overlap in kind of perfect imperfection in a lot of ways. And I also wrote, "Fun note: the Stones played this with Jack White, and it's awesome." So you guys can find that. It's a cool video. But yeah, I like this song. I think it's one of the better songs on the side. Billy Preston piano work and organ work on this side in particular is really, really, really good.
Billy Preston is a freaking he's great.
I think I missed it when we talked about maybe we haven't gotten to, did we get to Shine a Light? I guess we haven't gotten there yet, but his organ work on that song in particular is it makes the entire track.
And I didn't have him on let's see, unless I've missed him somewhere. I didn't have him there. But yeah, Billy Preston, some people would argue. Billy Preston is one of the many people who could lay claim to being the fifth Beatle. I'm just saying. Like,
I mean, besides their manager, right?
Sure.
With his deal that was
George Martin
was more than everyone else's in the band because he got them a record deal. That whole thing is crazy to me. The fact that he was getting more royalties than anyone else in the band. But 'tis the way the world works then, I guess.
Yeah, well, just who was the label that told him?
What I don't know about Billy Preston is if he's one of the people that recorded in LA or if he came out and recorded in this basement. I'm not sure on that. I'd have to do some digging. I'll do that before we get to the next the next 9 songs, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question. Billy Preston's a legend, man. So good. God, he's so talented, man. But yeah, like one of the most one of those popular stories about the Beatles, and there's thousands of them at this point, like there are the Stones, I'm sure. But they were told by Decca Records, guitar groups are on their way out. Sorry, boys. All right, like, cool. Well, we'll move on then. So
it's funny how like time changes because we're kind of wrapping up here. So it's funny how people like time changes an opinion of an album. And Exile on Main Street, I think, is one of those because. Like when this album released, some people called it a double album mess and that it was bloated. incoherent at times. Like that's some of the reviews. And then all these years later, it's like number 14 on the 500 greatest albums of all time by the Rolling Stones. So it's funny how people's opinions, change over the years when it comes to music. Like this wouldn't have been considered a successful Stones album at the time of its release.
It stands out, man. And you might be more familiar with their catalog as a whole. Like I can tell you songs, and there's a couple. Like the Steel Wheels album was good. There's been other albums here and there that I will listen to, but I couldn't sit here and rattle off the names of the albums. I can do a few. So maybe this one does stand out, but like it stands out to me because it's not, it's not Start Me Up. It's not Satisfaction. It's not, Can't Always Get What You Want. Kind of, just to be honest with you, I hate that song. I have always hated that song. I don't know why. Maybe I've just heard it too much.
I think it might be one of those. I love that song, and every time I think about that song, I think about Californication specifically. Because it's used at the beginning of the show and at the end in the finale, and it's really great. But I also tie that with a show that I love, so it's kind of one of those weird ones. But yeah, the question I had in my notes for you as we wrap up here is, if you released this album today in the ultra polished music landscape, does it get any play at all?
Well, I like that question because a lot of times I will find bands that I like because they'll run an ad on Instagram, and it could just be a band that I've never heard of. And I've listened to several bands now that I'm like, ooh, that's different. Ooh, I've never heard that before. I feel like this would. Let's say this were another band. Let's say this weren't the Stones. This wasn't the Stones. This was just, here's the Chris Patton band from Atlanta, Georgia, and here's their album called Exile Main Street. But like, God, I like this a lot. I don't know what I would call it. Like it's a bluesy rock thing, but yeah, I that's a good question. Does it get mainstream airplay? I don't think that it does. Not in the world we live in, dude. Like, what's monopolizing the airwaves now and streaming and social platforms. It's not rock. It's not blues. That stuff is, you can still find it, Chris. You know that, but it's not what people are listening to now as a whole, man.
No, yeah. It's kind of funny, like 2025 in general for albums, and some of the things that have hit number one this year have been very, very weird. Lots of metal, so like your Ghosts of the World and Deftones.
That's true.
You get this kind of 90s revival happening right now. Like Limp Bizkit just had a number one song. Music's weird at the moment.
Well, then maybe my answer is incorrect because I'm not keeping up with what is hitting on the charts right now. So I don't know if I knew about a lot of that. So maybe my answer is wrong. Maybe this would work to some degree for somebody.
Yeah, it's one of those. I guess it's a hypothetical question. There's not really a right answer. For me, It's like there's nothing that even, like, at least with the metal stuff, there's other comparison, right?
Yeah.
And those bands a lot of the bands that we talked about have been nominated for Grammys and things like that. But if a band started today and they wrote this album and they put it out and maybe a record label backed it or whatever to give it some promotion, it's just such a different, messy, gritty, even in the way it's recorded, right? Like, would people just be like, oh, what is this? What indie band put this out? It's kind of one of those things where you don't know. Like, yeah. I would still personally love it because I loved it the first time I heard it.
Sure.
But it's also coming from the standpoint of knowing, oh, this is the Rolling Stones. Whereas, does it work if it's just another band?
It's impossible to answer. Like you said, there's no real right or wrong answer at all because it's really hard to know that, dude. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Well, and I didn't want to sell Loving Cup short or anything. I do like the song. I will say this. I think this is one of those tracks on this album that the horns absolutely make this song. Again, you strip the horns out, still a good song. Don't know if I like it as much. I think they really add something to it, man.
Yeah, I love Loving Cup. It might be my favorite album on this side.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good song. It might be it might be a hidden gem for most, but I really dig it. I think it's a cool song. And the horns, I think, add a lot. It's either Loving Cup or Sweet Virginia for me.
Interesting. I love Soul Survivor. I love Tumbling Dice. But but we'll get into all of the rest of that on the next time out. So as a first side of an album, and we're calling it the first side, Chris, I get it, but like as a quick, tease of what's to come, what's stronger, the first 9 or the back 9, you think?
I think the first time, that first side is so good. I could listen to that first side like every day. It's so good. So I might say the first 9, but the back 9's pretty good too. And I don't know. That's a tough. I'll listen to it again and have a better answer for you when we hit side 2, because that may change. But right now, like that side 1 just is so good. There's some fast paced songs there, some more like straightforward rock and roll, which tends to be the kind of thing I like.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there you have it, kids. There is the first 9. There are the first 9 songs off Exile on Main Street. Been wanting to do this for a long time. Sometime I'm glad we're finally getting a crack at it here, and we can talk about it. So, Chris, before we call it a day, let's get your last word on the first half of Exile on Main Street.
It's a great album. I think this is, like I said at the beginning, this is one of my favorite Stones albums, if not my favorite. Interesting stuff. The mobile studio, the way it was recorded. Side 1, I think, has some problems, or both side 1 and side 2 of this album. I think they have some problems, some things that, I would probably have done differently. But once again, this is a masterpiece of an album. So if there's 1 or 2 tracks that either don't fit on the album, or as we were talking about it, that's okay, because there's a lot of really good songs there, so it's going to be all right. There was one thing that I missed out on when we were talking about Tumbling Dice. Did you know the original name for that song?
I do not know the original name.
It's Good Time Woman.
Oh, wow.
Or Good Time Women, sorry.
I mean, that's very much a Stones title, I think.
Well, yeah, but then you tell this story about it being the housemaid. It's like, what story was she telling Mick to come up with the title Good Time Women?
I think he just took it, like, again, he says, this is what he says anyway, that he didn't know much about Dice and everything. He just took what she said and just turned it into this whole thing. So I don't know if the song would even be about like a version of her per se. It would just be about, that's where their heads were at the time, I guess. So
yeah, as a final word on the side, I guess it's Exile on Main Street in general is recorded in chaos, and it's mixed in exile from the country's home, or the band's home. And it's, I think it's easy to say it's one of the most revered and probably one of the greatest rock double albums of all time, as rock doesn't have a ton of double albums. And I don't think there's any that really hit the mark of this one.
Yeah, that's good. Wow, that's a big statement, man. You willing to stick by that?
Yeah, I'm willing to stick by that. I mean, the album's, it's messy, it's very soulful. There's unique things that the Stones don't do on any other album, but you still have your meat and potato Rolling Stones in places. It's just a really interesting album, and I think that's why it's, the critics were became wrong. They look like idiots over time, because this album is considered a masterpiece by a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true, man. It aged like fine wine. This album did. Crazy, yeah. Well, kids, it won't be the first time that's happening in rock and roll. It may not be the last, but we shall see as we cover the last 9 of this album. Stay tuned for that. Coming your way very soon. And as always, we appreciate you checking us out. Continue to do so, and follow along with the album with us at the next time out, folks. And check out Boink Studios on the YouTube, of course. And I'll try not to sell you anything else before we go. Stay tuned again for the rest of this album. But in the meantime, that is Exile on Main Street, Side 1. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at 6M Podcasts. We'll see you next time.